Good day to one and all. I hope you're all safe and healthy. I'm Vivek Pani, an assistant professor in the area of marketing at the Department of Management Studies, NALSAR. NALSAR has just launched its IPM program this year, and to speak to us on this program, we have with us Professor Pinaki Nandan Pattanaik, Head Department of Management Studies, and Professor Sidharth Chauhan from the Law Department. Before we begin the interaction, I would like to request Professor Pattanaik to speak to us on this IPM program.
Thank you, Vivek, and hi, Sidharth. It's been some time that we have met physically, but I think the world has moved to a digital arena, and we are coping with it. But before I start, Vivek, and you've given me an opportunity, so I would want to very quickly, briefly, introduce the origin of this program. During these pandemic times, we have seen many knee-jerk reactions. We face a problem and we try and solve it on the go. Now that's very man versus wild, but we haven't done that. To be very particular about this program, it is not such that we have had a knee-jerk reaction in beginning this program. We have been thinking about this program since the last 5 to 6 years. And I must necessarily take this opportunity to thank Professor Faizan Mustafa, the Vice Chancellor of the university, and Professor Amita Dhanda, who has always advocated that real integration of management and law at NALSAR can only happen when we embed both of them together. It's a happy marriage that we have to enter into, and she has been a inspiring force behind our curriculum design and how we have perceived this program. I must also thank Professor Vidyulata Reddy and Professor Vasanthi because in the last meeting that we had, they had some very critical observations of the program which we took up. And finally, the outcome of the program is, as we will discuss in the forthcoming minutes of this short little video. So this program is a true embodiment of conceiving a university. NALSAR as a university has brought together the universes of knowledge together. It's not one universe of knowledge that we talk about either in management or in STEM or in social sciences and humanities or in law, but we have tried to bring in the best of all of these to put together so that a fruitful career for the aspirants and the students is possible. As we will discuss further, we will talk about Jim Collins' Level 5 leadership, which we have taken as one of our foundations in designing this program, and how important it is in today's world and as we see today in the future to come. So thank you, Vivek, for this opportunity and allowing me to thank all the people who have contributed immensely for this program.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Sidharth Chauhan, sir, to speak to us on this IPM program? Sidharth, sir, over to you.
Yeah. So obviously, we want applicants to consider this option, which is quite new in the market. We know that some of the IIMs have started a 5-year integrated program in management for a few years now. And this year, in fact, quite a few new programs are being launched. So obviously, given the pandemic, a lot of people would have anxieties about sending their children to other states. Many people, for instance, may also be facing financial difficulties as they plan ahead for college. So we wanted to say that at NALSAR, our commitment is to ensure that whichever student gets admitted into the program will definitely be given the support to complete the program. Yeah. So we know that the fee structure that we have set out for the IPM program is not very low, but it's not very high either. It's in the middle range between the IIMs and the larger state universities. That's because we are a small institution and we have a slightly self-financing character. But we can assure parents and applicants who are watching this video that if you do get into the program, we do have a very comprehensive scholarship and means-based program, where apart from the usual options such as government scholarships, bank loans, NALSAR itself also sets apart some money, especially for people who may come from disadvantaged backgrounds and who may not be able to pay the fee. So we have enough safety nets to protect all of our students who enter our institution. In fact, just as an example, in this current academic year, where all institutions are badly affected by the pandemic, we have set aside financial support for at least 35 students out of our existing pool of 700 students. And with the new IPM program, a similar degree of protection will be given. So I wanted to say that very upfront so that applicants and parents apply to us without any anxiety, without any worry about how they will complete their studies. Then to say a couple of things about why a law school like NALSAR is starting this new program. So we already have an M.B.A. program that has been anchored here for the last 8 years. So there is already a certain visibility in the market. So far, of course, the M.B.A. program has largely had applicants from Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. But our intention, of course, is to start to make this program truly diverse, to have a national profile of students, not only from all the states in India, but as per our existing reservation norms, we also want to invite applications from foreign nationals, from SAARC countries, from other nations, and to create a truly diverse student body as part of this new program. So at the moment, we have a full-time student strength of approximately 800 students, which includes our 5-year B.A. LLB program, our LLM program, and our 2-year M.B.A. program. And with this new integrated B.B.A. M.B.A. program, which is the IPM, our strength will increase by another 300 to 400 students over the next 5 years. So the other obvious question that many parents and applicants and our well-wishers, including alumni, might have is that are we prepared to handle this additional number of students in the next few years? So this is where we've actually been using the pandemic situation to prepare for the future. We already have 2 new hostel blocks. Both of them have 150 rooms each with twin sharing capacities. So once we do come back to physical classes, hopefully in 2022, we will be easily able to accommodate the students who will be admitted into the B.B.A. M.B.A. program. And as Professor Faizan Mustafa has already said, we may also be starting some new programs based on our resources and capacities in the next few years. So this is all, of course, part of a larger shift that is happening on account of the national education policy, which was announced last year by the central government, which is encouraging all single faculty institutions to diversify their offerings. And they have clearly said that institutions which have historically focused on a single discipline must expand their offerings, must enter into newer areas of knowledge creation, and must create opportunities for students to integrate knowledge from different disciplines. So at the moment, this is our first substantive effort in that direction after the M.B.A. program, but certainly we can assure viewers that there will be more such experiments that will happen. For instance, we have already expanded our online education programs. NALSAR is offering as many as 16 diploma and degree programs which are offered online. And viewers who are actually working professionals or already have a graduation degree can go to nalsarpro.org, I'm plugging them as well, to take a look at the various programs which NALSAR offers every year. So for us, this is not simply an isolated or ad hoc or knee-jerk effort, as Dr. Pattanaik is pointing out. It's already part of a thought process which has been in place for a few years. And we felt that this year was perhaps a good opportunity for us to move in this direction. The other thing I'll say is a little bit about why this particular IPM program is likely to be different from many of the other IPM programs which are offered by good institutions in India. This is not to say that we will be the best straight away. There are already very well-known institutions, much larger institutions which are offering these programs. But we can assure you that NALSAR, given its unique set of resources, will offer a unique course. For instance, many of the subjects which will be taught in the B.B.A. component actually include law subjects, include social science subjects. For instance, you have courses on political science, on social policy, on human values, the kind of courses which you will normally not find in an IPM program. And you will also have law subjects such as the law of torts, environmental protection, corporate governance, and financial laws, which are areas in which we already have faculty and research expertise. So what we can assure you is that when students come to us and they opt for this integrated B.B.A. M.B.A., not only are they going to get a very competently delivered B.B.A. component, but they will probably get courses which are normally taught to B.A. LLB students and B.A. honors students in other universities, all in the same location. So that's our existing strength, and we are trying to tell you that we are trying to blend our existing strengths to offer to make this new offering. Now we are also offering an exit option, which again is not a practice that all the IPM programs follow. In our case, we want to leave the choice open to the students. So students who join this program after the end of 3 years, can leave with a B.B.A degree, or if they feel that they want to continue with the M.B.A, then they can proceed and complete the M.B.A with another 2 years. So we will be giving that option to the students, so that students who may think that they might have other prospects are not blocked, and then they can complete after their B.B.A component and then proceed further. The last point I wanted to just highlight was that since this is a new program, there will be a lot of anxieties about career backgrounds, about placement opportunities. So one thing that we could say is that obviously whichever batch, if the batch which enters in 2021 is thinking about its job prospects, they have to think about the job prospects in 2026, right? So our aim is not so much to worry straight away about jobs. The first 3 years especially it will be a holistic grounding in liberal ideas, in commerce and management education, and interdisciplinary thinking, which will prepare you actually for challenges in different kinds of situations. The professional component, of course, comes more in the fourth and fifth year, which will follow the model of our existing M.B.A program. But obviously, with time, as industry changes, as the demands change in the economy, our elective courses and our visiting faculty courses will keep evolving, and you will get course offerings and internships that will be relevant to the needs of industry and the needs of the job market as we proceed with time. So perhaps we can take a few questions and add to this, but there are definitely several advantages behind coming to an institution like NALSAR. It's a small campus in terms of the number of students, which means you get a lot more attention from faculty, a lot more opportunities to interact with visiting faculty and industry experts. Two, the program is intensive. It requires a fair amount of work on part of students. Attending classes is not enough. Apart from attending classes, there will be many projects, assignments, collaborative internships and projects which will keep you busy throughout the 5 years. So if you're coming here for an intensive education, but also at the same time, you will be exposed to knowledge from other disciplines which may not always be on offer in the other IPM programs. So I think that's broadly what we had to say. And maybe we can engage with a few questions which I think might be common or might be quite prevalent in the minds of applicants.
Thank you so much, Sidharth sir. To start with, there's this question. So, for a few decades now, many institutes of national importance like IITs and Indian Institute of Science also have moved into other disciplines. Like IITs have started departments of management studies, and in fact, one of the premier IITs has also started a law department, and IIT Mumbai is also getting into medical sciences, healthcare. So. But we have only seen NALSAR University of Law getting into management education. So, what do you have to say about this particular marriage? Do you think this marriage is relevant? Is it required? And do you think industry would like this?
Okay, should I take that or is Pinaki going to take that?
Both of you can take that, sir. We'll start it with you.
Yeah. So just to be technically correct, actually some of the other NLUs have experimented with courses in other disciplines. So we should take a more holistic view of the picture, a holistic picture. For example, National Law School, which I am a graduate of, they have been running a 2-year MA program in public policy since 2014. It was 1 year after we started our M.B.A. So they've gone in a slightly different direction. Similarly, the Gujarat National Law University, they have also started, in fact, experimented with an M.B.A program after us. But amongst the other national law schools, Vivek, what you need to understand is that most of these national law schools are state universities. In fact, all of them technically are state universities. Let me correct myself. And at this initial stage, a lot of them are still struggling for resources in terms of setting up campuses, hiring faculty. So my understanding is that it is too early to judge, right? The national law schools based on what they have done in the last 10 to 20 years. I think in terms of diversification to other disciplines, I'm sure many others are going to move in this direction in the next few years. The one thing that we can say is that thanks to the initiative taken by Professor Mustafa and the team which has been built in DOMS, at least our M.B.A program has run for 8 years. So I think we should think in terms of what we can do further. And I'm sure that other institutions will learn their lessons and will expand their course offerings in related areas. So it may not necessarily be management. I know, for instance, that some of the other schools are also thinking of public policy programs or programs which are focused on governance and leadership. In fact, that could be one direction for us also. And I know that many of the other law schools are under pressure sometimes from their own governing bodies to limit themselves to LLB. So it's still a very early stage, I think, to assess the shift towards interdisciplinarity in the national law schools. But I think we should take a holistic picture and think about not just what has happened, but what is likely to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And please remember, our competition is not just the national law schools. There are many other newer private institutions and other existing central universities which are also already offering a strong interdisciplinary focus in their offerings. So I think the question is not so much of comparison, but the question should be more of experimentation, right? That if we are experimenting, are we doing it with the right kind of preparation, the right kind of ideas, and how do we see it going forward? So I'm quite sure that other law schools will also come up with other programs or come up with programs in related disciplines. I think that trend is definitely going to grow, especially with the national education policy. Sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir.
I'm sorry. So I think Sidharth has hit the nail on its head by saying that law schools are in the preparatory mode, and I think it is also better to prep first and then go to the market rather than having knee-jerk reactions, as I just said. In terms of the marriage between law and management, let me give you a perspective here. Now, business education essentially is two-pronged. They intend to make people effective, so effective management and efficient management. So these are two critical aspects of being a good manager. You must be effective in managing the situation and be very efficient in utilizing basically the resources. So if you are effective and efficient in managing your resources, you become a good manager. Now, on the other hand, law tells you about the rule of law. There has to be equity, justice, camaraderie, and everything geared towards societal well-being. There must be a society based on the rule of law. I think one of the critical lessons that we have learned from this pandemic is they cannot operate in silos, and we have seen this live right now. We are seeing it live, where the Pfizer CEO is coming out and saying, "Hey, you know what? Don't give out the IPR, the kind of knowledge that we have in terms of preparing the vaccine to the world. I mean, just don't do it." Now there are arguments for and against it. Now this look at it as a business problem. Strategically, giving out information for free, which are of value, is not what businesses essentially do. But here law comes in and says, hey, you know what? Society is more important than you as a standalone business. And therefore, vaccine licensing will be done, or the compulsory licensing will be done. Now, there is a happy merger between law and management for a society, which can actually come out of these kind of situations. This is not to be looked at individually. This pandemic and this COVID situation, for very personally speaking, should not be looked at in isolation. We have endemic problems. We have poverty as a problem. We have lack of food as a problem. We have lack of access to resources as a problem. And these are all also very similar to a pandemic. We just don't see people lose lives like this, but otherwise people are losing lives, and there are issues, broader, bigger issues. At NALSAR, these are the kind of problems that our students will encounter when they're studying to become effective, efficient managers who are embedded in justice education as well. This is not something that you will see elsewhere. So such conversations which evaluate both sides, profit, planet, people, and more, look into the future. 5 years hence, what do I need to do today so that 5 years from now, world will be a better place to live in, are conversations which will happen here at NALSAR and maybe at more law schools. I believe law is fundamental. As I think Faizan sir always says, law is from the cradle to grave. You might not like it, you might dislike it, you might try and evade it, but it's going to remain as it is. You will be always within the purview of law. And that's one aspect which I believe is the management and the IPM program here at NALSAR aims to bring in, to collate this information between law and management to create better individuals with career perspectives.
Thank you so much, sir. We have now understood that there's a significant marriage between law and management. So, but may I understand how is the curriculum designed for this integrated program in management? Pinaki, sir, after you, we can go to Siddharth, sir. Yeah.
So again, Vivek, very good question. I think I have already hinted upon some of those areas, and Siddharth has also hinted upon many of such areas of collaboration between disciplines. But just to give you a perspective, I think there is a serious need to merge knowledge here. I remember one of my colleagues was doing his PhD in knowledge management, and when I heard about this term called knowledge management, I had also asked him, and I asked him, how do you actually manage knowledge? I mean, will you create libraries? He said, no, I think you need to broaden the scope, the horizon of your knowledge. Knowledge comes from various areas, and the intention is to imbibe them and structurally position them for the best outcomes. Our program in the first 3 years, as Siddharth mentioned, creates a very solid foundation for people to leapfrog into a career in management. It includes courses on human values, gender diversity, constitution in business. Now, many a times we have seen that businesses do not understand their constitutional obligations, and at times I think most flagrant, of course, is the fundamental criteria that differently abled people are looked at last in terms of giving employment. Now, why is that a situation? Why is that? Why do businesses have to think about that? Why should they actually be allowed to do that? Is there a law which protects it? These are the kind of questions that we will engage in. Our curriculum essentially will prepare people to deal with VUCA situations, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. How much ever you prepare today, tomorrow is always going to be VUCA. It's going to be volatile. You do not know what is happening where and how will it impact you or your businesses. It's going to be very, very uncertain because no one actually knew that for 2 years put together, people will study online. I mean, who actually knew? In fact, social media has today become such a powerful tool because nobody is reading newspapers. People are afraid of getting newspapers. And therefore, these companies who are in the social media realm also have to be very responsible in how they manage themselves and the information that is passing through them. It's very complex also. Businesses have to be protected. Look at the complexity right now. Everybody is calling for a national lockdown, but there is no national lockdown. Government is saying, well, let state governments decide. State government says, oh, okay, collector will decide. Collector said, panchayat will decide. Panchayat says, block development officer will decide. And finally, people are dying. It's very, very complex. Why is it not happening? These are the kind of things that need to be discussed, need to be talked. Let us not look at only one side of the coin and say X person is unaware of what is happening around them. Let us also understand the kind of complexities that they are going through. And it's very ambiguous because now we are talking about a third wave. Then we are talking about, well, it can be managed. Then we are talking about, oh, you know what, it might actually never come. India is prepared, India is not prepared, world is prepared, world is not prepared. So it's very ambiguous. And these are the kind of things that we want to bring into the classroom for discussion and conversation, because through conversation, we will arrive at solutions. Thank you.
Siddharth, sir, could you please answer the same question?
I mean, just to summarize what we are trying to say, I think increasingly, whichever profession you pursue, and I'm not saying whether it is just law or management, but even if you become an architect, a doctor, or engineer, or whichever profession you pursue, I think it's very important to have a core understanding of how social institutions work. And for that,
Yeah,
a working knowledge of politics, a working knowledge of economics, and a working knowledge of society is required, right? So even if you look at the traditional social sciences, political science, economics, and sociology, they in a way form the foundation for looking at how any form of decision making can take place, whether it is in the public sector, private sector, or civil society. So I think this program will give students that kind of analytical frame and the conceptual tools which are needed to study uh, and to study in a systematic manner, and then use these tools which they gain for their respective professional pursuits, right? So we'll be laying these foundations in the BBA component.
So coming to the IPM program, most of the IPM programs that now the IIMs are actually handling, they have a lot of practical exposure. They are exposed to various walks of life. So Siddharth sir, can you just let me know how the law and humanities side of IPM program at NALSAR will help the students once they join the program? How will that give an exposure to them?
Yeah. So in terms of internships or projects, obviously the Department of Management Studies will be primarily responsible. But what I can assure you is that since we already have a network of students and graduates who are working in the development sector, who are working in civil society organizations and not-for-profit sector organizations, we can bring those resources and those networks also, which will be made available to students, which will be slightly different from the kind of offerings that students get in the pure business schools. Apart from better exposure to the voluntary sector, to NGOs and the not-for-profit sector, the integrated IPM students can also benefit from the vast range of elective courses, guest lectures, and student activities which happen on campus. And certainly in terms of the opportunities that students get in the after class hours, or in terms of developing their own personal interests, which could be outside the syllabus, they will have a much larger community to interact with. So that's the immediate sort of imagination that we can think of. But obviously, in terms of what kind of organizations will come for recruitments or what kind of internships will be set up, obviously that is something that will play out over the next 2 to 3 years. But since we already have a track record of serious engagement with all sectors, I mean, not just the corporate sector, but also the public sector and the civil society sector. So you will find organizations and individuals from all three sectors coming and interacting with the students on campus, which will open up opportunities for them, both in terms of internships, projects, and career opportunities.
Pinaki sir, the same question to you.
Yeah, so Vivek, I think Siddharth has hit the nail again. So he's keeping on hitting the nail today very hard. But that's true. We have a very robust five-fold practical exposure planned for our students who will come into the IPM program. Fundamentally, we want to look at live projects which are very embedded, very course-centric embedded live projects which are from the industry. Siddharth has already focused on how we will enrich our students in the developmental sector, because the adage of the only person who knows where the shoe is pinching is the person who's wearing it. And until and unless you get into the grassroots, you spend some time in villages, you spend some time with people who are in pain, you will not understand their pain. So to be able to understand the problems and therefore devise and render solutions to those problems, our students will spend time with NGOs. They will also spend one internship at startups. Now, we are also only one of those schools in the whole country, and I'm not talking about being differentiable from IIMs, or IITs. They have their own incubation centers, but we are the only institution in the country which is tied up to the largest facility of entrepreneurship that is available in whole of Asia. T-Hub is a global entity right now, and as a NALSAR, we are core partners to the formation of T-Hub, and therefore all our students will spend at least one summer internship working with startups at T-Hub. Again, understanding the flow of product design, how to identify the problem to how to render a solution and become efficient as an organization is something that our students will also get to know, which is not very easy at other places. Yes, just like the other business schools, we will also have corporate internships at good places. I have been informed that all our first year students have ended up getting summer internships this year, and all of them, barring I think one, has secured a stipend as well, which is during these pandemic times an achievement by itself for the Training and Placement Advisory Committee at the Department of Management Studies, NALSAR. So we are prepared, we are ready, and we have a structure in place. The challenge now is to push yourself as students, to push yourself to get the maximum out of this program for yourself and a fruitful career for yourself.
Another question that I keep seeing is, will the management students, say MBA or also the IPM students, will they be securing the same kind of job profiles that the other premier B school students get? Because we have a very good confluence of law and management, and if many students, many stakeholders or candidates or have this confusion, would they end up getting the same profiles, or would they go the LLB way? What is your answer for this, sir? So that's sir.
So, firstly, I think the recruitments for the law graduates are in a slightly different sector. I mean, many people start with commercial law firms, then many people join litigation chambers, and there are a few, who think about careers in civil services or lower judiciary. So I don't think the IPM students will be completely overlapping with those sectors. I mean, barring a few who might think about civil services after their B.B.A. But we anticipate that most of our IPM students are going to begin in the corporate sector. And a few, of course, may begin with startups or may even think about social sector opportunities. So it will be different from what the law graduates are doing. Whether or not we'll be able to get them offers of the kind which the IIMs are getting, it's still 5 years in the future. But I think the best way to assess that is to see how the existing M.B.A program has done. And I think since you are part of that department, you can inform applicants better about how the M.B.A program has evolved. In fact, you were also a student with us a few years ago. So your alumni network, I think, is the best spokesperson for what kind of opportunities they have got after NALSAR. So I think it's still a conversation for 2026, but we will do our best to give our students the opportunities, the networks, the resources, which will prepare them for the job market. And remember, it's not job market in the narrow sense. Opportunities for entrepreneurship, opportunities in other disciplines will also open up. But I'm personally not very confident about claiming that the salaries will be at the same level as the IIMs. I think let's not get ahead of ourselves and make that claim in a public platform. We will try our best, but students will definitely get opportunities which are better than most state universities.
Yes. Vivek, I think that's also a very good question. And as Sidharth has said, our students will get into, after prepping themselves and being ready for the market through this IPM program, the world is an open place. I have seen many of our students, at least one or two every year, MBA students, get into academics. They are getting into their PhD programs. You yourself went to IIM Kashipur. One of my students now is getting into NIT Warangal to pursue her PhD. So academics also as a career is opening up. But to begin with, I think many of our students will probably end up in the corporate sector or in the development sector. And please do not mistake when we say the development sector. It's not about being the last in the line or something. Today, the development sector is a very important sector which contributes immensely to how we have become as a nation. There are now enough evidences that as the development sector was choked, more and more people moved away from getting the benefits that they rightfully deserve. So I think many of our students should also make an attempt to enter the development sector for the overall societal well-being. But yes, many of them will end up in the corporate sector. And right now is too early for us to quote salaries because we don't know at what rate inflation will go. So if I say today that there'll be a 10 lakh salary average, then in 5 years' time, it might just be worth about 7 or 7.5 lakhs. Inflation eats away into the value of money, so I don't want to get ahead of my times and claim it. But as long as you are good, as long as you are prepared, the corporates will pick you up, and there is make no mistake about it.
Lastly, I have a very interesting question to you ask. So, how is life at NALSA? Because this is going to be a 5-year period, and it's actually a structural period rather. So, how do you think the life at NALSA would be for the students?
Well, the best way for applicants to understand that is to speak to current students. But obviously, from a point of view of a teacher, we can tell you that it is a residential campus. It is outside Hyderabad, so it is a bit secluded from the city, which at a young age can feel a little odd because you may not get as many opportunities to socialize as you would if you were studying inside the city. But having said that, our students do find a lot of time for their leisure and recreation, especially on weekends. We don't usually don't have classes, and even in the residential campus, students do have a large number of activities which happen after classes, such as film clubs, music societies, recreation and sports, which are all open to students in our own campus. So we are lucky to have a 50-acre campus next to the Shamirpet Lake, which actually is a very clean environment with clean air and a healthy lifestyle available to students. So yes, it won't have the hustle and bustle of a busy city. And if students want to really eat out or watch movies, they have to make the effort of commuting to the city. But by and large, I think if applicants can speak to current students, they will get a very good sense of what campus life is like. Our hostel spaces are quite comfortable. Our classrooms, in fact, are very airy and spacious. And half the faculty members, nearly half the faculty members are on campus. The others are commuting from the city. We are quite available. We are constantly available to students to resolve their queries and concerns. And student clubs themselves make life quite active in the after class hours. So I think the quality of life is actually going to be very engaging, very meaningful. People will learn a lot from interacting with their peers from other states, people who speak different languages, people who come from different social backgrounds. And I think that's one of the important objectives of building an institution which aims for a national and international student profile, because you get to interact with people from different cultures, learn about their food habits, learn about their customs, and of course, make friends for life. So I think it's the peer interaction really which makes a big difference in a residential campus. But obviously, as I said earlier, we'll also keep the students busy. It's not that the coursework is going to be so relaxed. Apart from the 4 or 5 hours of class every day, students will have to spend another 3 to 4 hours either preparing for assignments or doing work in the library. So it is going to be an intensive experience. But at the same time, there will also be time for students to have fun and pursue their recreation. But yes, since we are far from the camp, far from the city, it is relatively isolated in terms of distance. But in the times of this pandemic, it is actually turning out to be an advantage because being far away from the city means that you have a healthier lifestyle and you're less prone to the infection.
Pinaki sir, to add to the question, I would also want to understand. You have repeatedly mentioned that the course is aiming for level 5 leadership. So, could you explain this
Yes.
objective of IPM program at NALSA?
So, Vivek, I think in addition to what Siddharth has just said, if you ask me personally, and I have been residing on the campus, I think in a house which neighbors Siddharth's. Um, Life at Nalsar campus is a life worth living. That's as far as I can go in telling you how I have experienced Nalsar. It's an amazing place to live in and interact with fantastic people all across. The level of knowledge that flows even in general communication that we have usually in the evening having tea is something which opens your mind up to new possibilities. So that's about what Nalsar is. It's fun, frolic, and a lot of future orientation. Now, in terms of level 5 leadership, I think, as I said, we have borrowed it from Jim Collins. Level 5 leadership essentially is being personally capable, and so capable that you are a good team leader, a good team member, a competent manager, effective leader, but at the same time, you are rich in humility and human values. Many a times we have seen that highly effective and efficient people lose their grounding, and that's not a great thing to do. I mean, in this world which has become so networked, I think two of the critical aspects that human beings are missing out on and being digitally connected is humility and human values. I have seen some of these videos now, which are of course on TV, of this pandemic situation where people have let go of their own life in attempting to help someone else, and that I think is absolutely amazing. I mean, that I think can't be compared with anything else. Letting go of your own personal goals in trying to help somebody else in need is something that we would make all attempts in this program to tell our students and to practice probably ourselves as well. That's about level 5 leadership, where you are not only capable, you are competent and as well as efficient, effective, but rich in humility and human values. Be humane to others. Treat others as you would want to be treated yourself is something that we would want our students to learn through this program, and that's our central motto.
Thank you so much, Pinaki
Yes,
sir.
Vivek.
Thank you so much, Sidharth Chauhan sir. I hope this video is insightful for the applicants. So, for any other queries, we request all the applicants and potential applicants to write to us directly, and we would be happy to help. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.